Good evening. I'm Yohanan Zion, the voice crying in the wilderness, prophesying a technological New Jerusalem. And this is the fourth in the Playing Leapfrog conversation series in our techno-communism conversations, and it is focusing on the tech accelerationist element. For that purpose, we will talk about transhumanist ideologies and profiles, and others in this technophile arena, in contrast with revolutionary cybernetic socialism. In order to understand this, I guess I can reference some real-world persons who identify as transhumanists. These people that I'm going to reference are not real transhumanists. I've shared this artwork many times with many people. It is a what is often called a political compass, and in the top left part of the political compass, above organizations and movements that have existed, there is something called hive mind collectivism. It's not a thing that has yet existed because it requires the ability for a new kind of collective arranged around technologically mediated telepathy, a thing which may exist in a very rudimentary form, as there are now at least two people connected to one another using brain-computer interfaces, or one might argue other kinds of technologically mediated telepathy of a more rudimentary kind already in widespread existence. But it's something that I do believe will shape the face of the 21st century. For as long as I can remember, I've thought of myself as a hive mind collectivist, and it has shaped my thinking very much. These people are scientific socialists by necessity, this is in contrast with these so-called transhumanists, aspiring transhumans, on another part of the artwork that I described, another part of the political compass. They're down here with pieces of garbage like Donald Trump in the bottom right side of the political compass. These are almost all of the people who describe themselves as transhumanists. A great remove, ideologically and in their actions, from the real transhumanists of the hive mind collective. So I'm going to contrast two such people who imagine themselves to be adversaries, even though their actual actions differ very little. And those two people, one of them is a Mr. James Hughes, a liberal fascist transhumanist, a person who imagines themselves to be a liberal but is in fact a fascist sympathizer, let's say. And another is the one who I've talked about more on these various lectures, Zoltan Istvan, a far-right so-called anarcho-capitalist. The main distinction between these two types of profiles is the degree of self-deception in them, not the degree of evil that they do. The liberal is the more self-deceived, imagines himself to be a scientific socialist, but sides with empire and financial capital at every turn. Whereas the profile of a person like Zoltan Istvan is not dissimilar from a more well-known figure, let's say Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang is a person who was advocating for basic income like Zoltan Istvan was at a certain time. In 2020, both of these people might have made a real try for seeing that a basic income was established under conditions of potential change because of the coronavirus outbreak and responses to it. They dropped back from that position because they are not real human beings advocating for real economic relief for other human beings, but right-wing think tank run rats who only describe a position when it is not likely to happen, and in a situation where it could happen, they go back to more distinctly neoliberal talking points. And this range between Mr. Hughes and Mr. Istvan describes the range of people in this bottom left hellscape of so-called transhumanism. As I said, none of these people are real transhumanists. And we're going to contrast this. I want to first remind you that we are in the midst of an AI takeoff, but it is a bourgeois AI takeoff. And whether a bourgeois AI takeoff or bourgeois systems of another kind, you would do well to remember that the heaven of the rich is built upon the hell of the poor under any such financial capital systems. And that is the world that these tech accelerationists are pushing for. And I'm going to describe how they know people like James Hughes in their heart of hearts know better. Zoltan Istvan, of course, certainly knows better, but he's intentionally being quite evil. And I'm going to describe this particular outcome that they are well aware of in just a moment. But this heaven of the rich built upon the hell of the poor, this is a phenomena that we well understand under cruel and unsustainable bourgeois institutions. It's something that it seemed that humankind was making a departure from as scientific socialism captured the public imagination in the course of the 20th century. We've since entered this neoliberal and more far-right militaristic era of history where many of those advances have been rolled back. As a result, life expectancy in the United States, where myself and these other two individuals live, has fallen precipitously in recent years. It had plateaued for a number of years and dropped off quite a bit since the coronavirus outbreak and around shortly before that time. This hell that these self-deceived technologists and technophiles are most central to building, it's not a world where they can survive. What are these lecture circuit pseudo-intellectual clowns going to do in the Mad Max world that they're building? They'll be dead in a month. People like myself and my organization, we have combat training. We have survivalist training. These people are building a world that where they will not survive. The billionaires that they work for have a chance of surviving in their bunkers, but they'll be dead almost immediately. So to then describe the cybernetic socialist alternative, the trajectory of technological advancement, and particularly in this area of advanced computing of most interest there, is precipitously altering the contours of our human society. And so our conversation now explores in further depth the ideological and technological underpinnings of these various capitalistic visions for the future. The liberal capitalist transhuman, as encapsulated by Mr. Hughes, and the right-wing so-called anarcho-capitalist transhuman, as encapsulated by Mr. Istvan. There is, of course, no such thing as an anarcho-capitalist. The idea is utterly absurd because capitalism only exists when a capitalist-friendly state allows this particular set of market phenomena to thrive. So the idea that there is such a person as an anarcho-capitalist is merely a crypto-fascist feint. But these ideologies are often presented as opposed, as I said, of course, but they are really very, very close to one another, just as I described that political compass where these people reside very close to one another at some remove, great remove, nearly the greatest remove from the true transhumanist hive mind collectivist. But there are differing approaches to governance, economics, and social structure do bear mentioning. I think that some people who do watch this show are interested in learning more about transhumanism, so we will drill down a little bit here. But the more coherent and better in every way set of ideas is, of course, the revolutionary cybernetic socialist idea, which will lead to that hive mind collectivist world. And that is a counterpoint to these more dominant narratives. They are more dominant because they are propped up by the bourgeois institutions of the West, which will not suffer things that defy it too much to occupy the public square. This part of our conversation delves into the core tenets, as promised, of cybernetic socialism, contrasting it with these aforementioned ideologies and exploring its potential to create a genuinely sustainable and equitable future where all human beings live as long as they like in a world that is very, very close at hand, a world of indefinite lifespan, longevity, escape velocity, which is not a very meaningful outcome if it is not leading in short order to a universal super longevity. These are things that are well underway based on the state of the biomedical art, but not under this neoliberal paradigm. Under this neoliberal paradigm, the problem of 100,000 people dying a year in the United States because they do not have a public health service will continue. This liberal transhumanism is describes itself as deriving from the Enlightenment tradition and envisions a future where advanced technology is used to enhance capabilities of human beings while preserving their so-called liberal democratic values. And so it suggests a gradual incremental approach to technological development, emphasizing safety, ethics, and regulation. You can see immediately the problem with this reformist or incrementalist approach. We have 5 years left before the people who these so-called liberal transhumanists serve, the military industrialists and financial capitalists of the Western world, particularly the U.S. military-industrial complex, will have sealed our fates. After 2029, we will be in the oven, in the blast furnace. That's to say, you will be cooked like a turkey in the decades to follow, which will lead to the death of billions, or if not all human beings. These kind of lecture circuit clowns will not be the sort of people who will survive in that Mad Max world. So they are building, have helped to build a situation that will almost ensure their own demise. This liberal transhumanist perspective is often, of course, very much aligned, although in rhetoric deviates slightly, but in practice very much aligned with the interests of the large tech corporations and fascistic Western government institutions, and it largely exists to seek a profit and control the fate of emerging technologies, and not to achieve its stated incrementalist goals, which these people know full well are not achievable in that time frame on that gradual basis.